Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 4:02 by my watch. We're at the Bob Burton Performing Arts Center for the Fallbrook Union High School regular board meeting at 2400 South Stagecoach Lane, Fallbrook, California, 92028. We're going to be going to closed session. Closed session agenda is, first one is public employment discipline, dismissal, and release, government section code 54957. The next is conference with legal counsel pending litigation, government section code 54956.9 D1. The third is conference with legal counsel anticipating litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to government code 54956.9 D2. The fourth is conference with labor negotiations, government section code 54957.6. And that's with our district negotiator, Elsa Garza Gonzalez, superintendent, as well as the employee organization, FH, STA, and SEIU. The fifth is the superintendent evaluation tool. And the last one will be settlement agreement number 01-2022-4886-0898-0489. Let's see, opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any item described on this agenda for the closed session for government section code 54954.3. Public will have an opportunity granted later for open session items. Thank you. All right, good evening. Go ahead and call the regular session to order at 5:30 by my watch. This is the Board of Trustees meeting for the Fallbrook Union High School District. We're at the Bob Burton Performing Arts Center, Fallbrook, California at 2400 South Stagecoach Lane, Fallbrook, California 92028. We'll go ahead and start with the flag salute. Please rise. Thank you. All right, roll call. Eddie Jones, President. I am present. Diane Summers, Vice President.
I'm present.
Oscar Carlampio, Clerk. Present. Ilana Sterling, Trustee.
Present.
Lita Tavish, Trustee.
Present.
Ilza Garza Gonzalez, Superintendent.
Present.
Damian Gallegos.
Present.
And Savannah Hamath.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, announcement, little housekeeping. All open sessions of the Board of Trustees are recorded and streamed in real time at fuhsd.net. All right, first is our moment of silence.
Yes, we have 3 moments of silence that we've put together into one. The first is for Oscar Ledesma, Fallbrook High School student. Oscar was passionate about basketball and showing livestock. He was involved in 4-H and FFA for the past 7 years. He was a senior planning on going to Palomar College after graduating high school. Mr. Garland Dunbar was a former Fallbrook High School teacher and substitute. Social studies teacher and basketball coach, he began working at Fallbrook High School in 1966. He was also the driver education teacher and the behind-the-wheel instructor. He must have had nerves of steel to jump into cars with all of those kids. He retired in 2003, but returned to Fallbrook High School as a substitute teacher and subbed for us until 2019. He truly enjoyed being at Fallbrook High School. And finally, Dave Evans, also a former social science teacher for Fallbrook High School. He taught economics, which was his specialty, and the AP government classes. He was a coach for the academic decathlon and was the newspaper advisor. He started the employee socials for staff to be able to get together throughout the school year on Fridays to socialize. Mr. Evans worked at Fallbrook High School from 2004 to 2015. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, informal review of the governing team's norms. The Board of Trustees approved norms are that we be respectful, be approachable, be open-minded, be communicative with no surprises, be willing to listen, be prepared, and to be trustworthy. Report from closed session. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of these. First one is Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, and Release, Government Section Code 54957. Nothing to report. Conference with legal counsel pending litigation, Government Section Code 54956.9 D1. Nothing to report. Conference with legal counsel anticipating litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Section Code 54956.9 D2. Nothing to report. Conference with labor negotiations, Government Section Code 54957.6. District negotiation with Ilza Garza Gonzalez, Superintendent, or the employee organizations, FHSTA and SEIU, all of those, nothing to report. Superintendent evaluation tool, nothing to report. And the last, the board voted 5-0 in acceptance of settlement agreement number 01-2022 4886 0898 04 8-9. Again, that was a 5-0 vote in favor. Adopting the agenda.
I
Any-
move that the board adopt the agenda for the regular meeting of February 28th, 2022.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
would there be any potential for us to add another moment of silence? I didn't realize that they were before adopting the agenda. Or would that be something for next week?
We prefer to agendize it at a future meeting, but we'll be addressing it later today.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Carlampio?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Jones says aye. Ms. Sterling?
Aye.
Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Ms. Tevich?
Aye.
Mr. Gallegos?
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. Amoth?
Aye.
Thank you. Recognition. Fallbrook's finest.
Yes, Fallbrook's finest for the month of February. We would like to start off by recognizing Angela Good from our Business Services Department. She is a payroll benefits technician for Fallbrook Union High School District. Angie, as she is commonly known by all, treats everyone with respect and graciousness and answers questions thoroughly and patiently. She works relentlessly to ensure that employees are paid accurately and on time. Angie goes above and beyond to ensure that her work is accurate. She has created a number of systems to improve communication on payroll and benefit issues with staff. Angie's quiet demeanor allows her to address high-stress situations in a calm manner. Angela Good is not only good, she is one of Fallbrook's finest. Angela Snyder is Fallbrook Union High School District's LVN. Due to the mandates regarding COVID diagnostic testing for employees, contact tracing for employees and students, and the need for an isolation room, the district made the decision to add an LVN to our health office team. Angela has fit right in. Her positive can-do nature and her knowledge of health and school systems is invaluable. She addresses concerns with confidentiality, empathy, and tact. We appreciate all Angela does, and we're proud to recognize her as one of Fallbrook's finest. And the next one is bittersweet. Shelley Fox, math teacher at Fallbrook High School, unexpectedly passed away last week, but she had been nominated for Fallbrook's finest for her unwavering belief in our students. She was an outspoken advocate for her students and challenged them to meet her high expectations while providing a system of support for them. Her efforts were recognized by her colleagues, administrators, and consultants. And this kind of falls into the saying of tell people what you want them to know because it might be too late. Her absence will be deeply felt by all, as she was truly one of Fallbrook's finest, and we will be holding a moment of silence for her at a future board meeting.
Thank you. A lot of these going on right now. It's tough. Thank you very much. Okay, our presentation.
Yes, we have Mr. Germán Mosqueda. He is our supervisor of attendance, and he is here to talk about his role and what he has accomplished to date. Let's see, try it again, Mr. Mosqueda.
Good evening. There we go. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Garza Gonzalez, everyone else here in attendance. Oops. My name is Germán Mosqueda. I'm the supervisor of attendance for this high school district. This evening I'll be talking about my roles and responsibilities as supervisor of attendance and share with you a little bit about how I've been carrying out this role since my appointment in September of 2021. So my mission is to make a connection with our students and their families and identify the unique situations which impede them from taking full advantage of the educational opportunities that we offer. Once I've established a familiar connection, I offer them the support that we can grant them or help advocate for them and connect them with the appropriate community resources. I'm positive that the outreach that I'm doing outside of our school campus is the key to family involvement, which then translates to students having a better educational experience. My role helps bring the school to the home. Many times the families that I meet on their doorstep are surprised to see someone taking the time to provide the support for their family. So it's one of the reasons that I've made a priority of mine to do outreach. It's important for me to reframe the idea of my role in the minds of our families from one of compliance and fines to one of support and community. This is a graphic that explains the old way of targeting students with irregular attendance versus the new way. Our absence letters have also changed the language as well to indicate a spirit of assistance and support. So we now focus on chronic absenteeism, which counts all absences, not just unexcused absences. And we use community-based positive strategies to try to reel those students back in. Depending on the situation with the student and the family, the first intervention is our SART, our School Attendance Review Team. This team is composed of our APs, our principals, academic counselors, our district therapists, and myself. And during these meetings, we sit down and demonstrate to our families that our bottom line is to find solutions for their student to receive and benefit from the education that they're entitled to. Our next step would be to refer some of these cases that are unable or unwilling to follow our directives to a SARB, which is our School Attendance Review Board team, which we are working to establish our own SARB so that we avoid having to refer students to other district SARBs. I've done the outreach to outside organizations that are going to be helping us and that are going to be accompanying us in these meetings, such as North County Lifeline, our Sheriff's Department, Fallbrook Food Pantry. And so just like our SART, it's another form of intervention, this time with the help of outside organizations who can assist our families with different resources and help them build action plans with the goal of finding the best path to getting their student back in some form of schooling. Lastly, I'd like to share with the board and community some of the efforts that I'm a part of within our district, geared towards promoting attendance and school connectedness. In the year 2020, during the pandemic and distance learning, I brought the idea of virtual peer tutoring to Miss Emily Toon, which supported me with this idea of getting students connected through peer-to-peer tutoring. We did that virtually. Now we're doing it in person through Warrior Way. So this is a way for me to keep connecting with those students that I have these attendance meetings with. I invite them to come to tutoring after school, Monday through Thursday from 3 to 5. So that way, all the school that they've missed, they don't feel so far behind. And I'm also there to help them academically and support them so that they feel like they don't just see me in the attendance meeting, but I'm there to support them academically as they try to bounce back. Oh, and just one more thing. Also, now that we're in person, our emphasis is also towards our English language learners. I am bilingual, so that's also an added that's something that we've added to the peer tutoring. I'm also involved with the Saturday Academy. I help the coordinator with attendance, and I help promote the program. I'm there just to support on Saturdays. So as that program is starting to get legs, I'm there to support Ms. Claudia Mendez. The FHS Lunch League is an activity that we are spearheading with Mr. Jorge Rojas, our parent liaison, where we have students participate in a soccer league on Thursdays and Fridays, and their participation does depend on their attendance, so they have to be in attendance all week in order to participate on Thursdays and Fridays. So it's been a real success, and we look forward to continuing this project. The PWC podcast is another activity that I'm involved in with Mr. Jorge Rojas. Audio engineering, sort of producing this effort to record programs and material for parents so that when I have these attendance meetings, we have material to share with parents that can help them as they accompany their teenager through their high school years. So we're going to have some nice guests. The first episode that we had is for healthy family-teen relationships. So we're looking forward to having some evergreen material that we can archive for years to come. Lastly, I have built a chronic absentee map. I've been able to take the data from our student information system and been able to run it through our Google map that's actually made for businesses, but I just kind of engineered it for my uses, and it really helps me maximize my efforts when I'm out on home visits. So when I go and see one student, I know another student that's right nearby, and I can go check in on them. And it's really helped me to see information that would otherwise be invisible looking at a spreadsheet. So yeah, those are the things that I'm involved with. That's kind of what my role has been thus far, and thank you.
Can we ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, one is a question, the other is a comment. The Warrior Way, when the kids go to do that, who plays, what type of qualifications does the student who's doing the mentoring have?
Yeah, so I do the recruiting through teachers for the most part. They will let me know which students they think might have the patience, might have the academic know-how to be able to help another student. Also, I recruit based on a student's bilingual ability. Like I said, a lot of the emphasis in the after-school program for the VPT is for our English learners so that they can help out as well.
Do these kids who do this, do they get some kind of credit for it in a way, or is it on their, on their information, that it's passes on?
Yeah, I offer them community service, and also when they're getting ready to graduate, I offer them a letter of recommendation, whether it's for a job or whether it's for college.
Oh, those are great things to pass on. And through our new social media thing, I did see the soccer game and how much fun the kids are having. Beautiful, beautiful idea. They're just they're having too much fun.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
wonderful.
It's working out.
It's working out, yeah. Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
I'm also very impressed. The data visualization you did with Google Maps is pretty impressive. I like that a lot. In fact, Oscar and I were talking, looking at this map, there might be a lot of overlap between the chronic absences and some of the math scores and things that we've been talking about. So appreciate that. A couple quick questions. Can you tell me just a little bit more about the Saturday Academy, what it is, what the goals are?
Yeah, so I'm actually not coordinating the effort. I'm there just solely for attendance matters, just to keep track of the students that are attending. But also they are able to earn a day of absence back, the earliest day of absence. So if they attend a Saturday Academy, then they can clean up their attendance record doing that.
So the Saturday Enrichment Academy basically replaced the program that was formerly known as FILA, because we wanted to have a greater focus on our students as opposed to the families. We teachers volunteer to offer a 4-hour academic enrichment course. Our dual immersion program, for example, has been inviting students from May Ellis Elementary to participate. As we get closer to advanced placement tests, many of the AP teachers will want to come in on a Saturday, invite their students to be a part of that. We have open gym for students to participate in, and we are able to recoup ADA for students who have missed absences, but most importantly, it gives students the ability to participate in other programs that they normally wouldn't be able to participate during the regular school day. So a very popular offering is Danza Folclórica. And we do still offer the adult courses in ELD for our students' parents, but transportation and the food services are directed primarily to the students as opposed to the adults.
Thank you. And again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Very important, and I like the work you're doing. Anybody else have questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, again, congratulations on all the work that you're doing, and I hope you're finding time to get some rest and re-energize, because if you're working with some of the students who have chronic absences, I'm sure it's not an easy task. I want to reiterate what President Jones said, which is very impressed with the data, something that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on, something that, that gives me a starting point, since most of the absences are coming from District 4. And, I'm the rep for District 4, so, thank you for the information, and hopefully we can build something for our kids, and this is a good starting point.
Absolutely. Anything you need. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the presentations, correct?
Yes.
All right, public comment. Fallbrook Union High School District Board of Educators encourages and invites the public to comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Total public input on any one subject will be limited to 20 minutes, and the president may increase or decrease the time allotted with board consent, as per bylaws 9323. Per legislation AB 1291, the board will give twice the allocated time to members of the public who utilize translation technology or assistance to address the board. Comments on non-public items will be heard at this time. Comments on agenda items may be taken at this time or when that agenda is discussed by the board. Speakers will be called in order by topic and when their card was submitted. The district's silence should not be mistaken for agreement with the public comment. Rather, the board remains silent to comply with California law, avoid legal entanglements, and or to protect the privacy of those involved. Please be assured that any serious allegations have been or will be investigated thoroughly. Any responses from the board may occur during board comments. Members of the audience are expected to refrain from any conduct intended to harass or intimidate other members of the public. We all request that everybody be respectful and courteous during tonight's meeting.
Our first speaker is Judy Willis, special teacher assignment. If you could make your way up to the podium, and if I could have Tara Jenkins move towards the front as well. Thank you.
Good evening. I have 3 topics, so I'll start with the one that you brought up, and then if I have more time, I'll start one of the other topics, if that's all right. A couple of meetings ago, there was a presentation by the special assignment teacher, Mr. Omar Muir, and in his presentation, he discussed this book. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to read it, but I think you need to. This is an extension of CRT, and I'll give you a couple of examples. But before I do that, just because he wants to change the grading system, the way teachers give grades, doesn't mean the old system should be thrown out. In this book, it lists all these reasons why it should be thrown out and very little proof that it really works. The only substantial listing that I see, it was under 10% for kids that were getting D's and F's. But there's no conversation about what happened to the kids that get A, B, and C's when they see what happens to the kids that get the D's and the F's. It might not be fair for them. A couple things I'd like to discuss that are actually in the book. I am a card-carrying Sioux Indian, so my blood is Indian. And in this book, they say they should be teaching what happened to the Indians. Now, I know the United States government was horrible to all Indians, but in this book, they want to rewrite history and call it genocide. And I really object to that. The other thing that I'll bring up, as you can see, I haven't read the whole book, but I have tagged it in many places for things that are very objectionable. I'd like to read this. Can we simply stop our implied biases? Probably not. Americans, regardless of race, hold an anti-black, pro-white, implicit bias. I really hate that this book says that about me. And I hope all of you get a hold of this book and you read it and you make sure you really want our teachers reading this and grading according to this book. Okay, that's the end of that topic. Do you want me to start another topic?
We will reset the time for your next topic, which is spring break scheduling.
Okay. Maybe this year is, maybe at this time of year, you will take a look at next year's schedule and consider the problems that I'm seeing this year. In talking to the elementary school board, it appears that there's no communication between your board and theirs. What has happened is 6 out of 9 school board meetings are in the same night. So if a parent has children in elementary and high school, they have to make a choice. Now, yes, there is virtual, and you can attend, see the school board meeting later, but if you want to attend and make a comment, you're out of it for 6 out of the 9 meetings. So I'm hoping next year you have some communication so this doesn't occur again. The second problem is spring break. The elementary school and high school have opposite weeks. So again, families that have children in elementary school and high school, they have to choose. Either they're going to pull their child out and you guys lose ADA, or they can't take a vacation with their family. So I think that's really an issue you guys need to look at so this doesn't happen again next year. My last topic, I'll wait till later, if that's what you want me to do.
We only have cards for the 2 topics.
All right, I've got 1 minute, so maybe I can get through this. I'm sure you were all happy that Newsom had rescinded the school mask mandates on March 11th. You probably have heard that, I hope. But we still have the mandate, the manner of the vaccine. I still implore you to send a letter to the governor. Mr. Jones, a few meetings ago, when the lawyer from your insurance company was here, you said there doesn't seem to be any middle road here. And so you voted, all of you voted not to send a letter. Well, because you did not send a letter, you just crossed that middle road by not representing all the people that are against the mandate of masks and vaccines. So I would like you to reconsider that. I have a email that I received, and it's from World News Today, and I'll give you a copy of it. It has nothing to do with us. It happened in France, and I'd like to briefly read it to you in 24 seconds. The family sued the insurance company but lost. The judge ruled that the side effects of the experimental vaccine were made public, and the deceased could not claim to be unaware of them when he voluntarily took the vaccine. The court also stressed that in France, there is no law that forces him to, can I just, a few more seconds, to be vaccinated. Therefore, his death, can you believe this, in fact, is a suicide. Please don't put this risk on our kids to have the vaccine and have bad side effects. They die, and it's considered suicide.
Thank
The
you.
insurance company noted that suicide is like...
Okay, thank you.
Tara Jenkins, followed by Paul Kaufman. Tara Jenkins will be speaking on making a difference.
I doubt I'll get through everything I want to say. So anyways, I just thought, hopefully you guys will read more later. I think it will be of interest to you. I hope. First, I just want to say I'm sorry for your losses. I know how close the school community can be. I'm a former teacher. President Jones, last meeting you asked a discouraging question that seemed to play a part in your reasoning to vote no on a letter to the governor and other reps asking something along the lines, will it really make a difference? Mrs. Tavish, you have opined that our problem is with those up in Sacramento. Here's my response, because most likely, even though the mask mandate is going to be hopefully lifted soon on March 11th, we will have other challenges ahead of us, and I hope you will adopt this positive mind frame. Have you heard of the doctrine of lesser magistrates? Allow me to educate those who haven't and refresh the memories of those who have. Magistrate means anyone with lawful civil authority, whether by election or appointment. We call it lesser magistrate because they possess lawful authority, often more power than a higher magistrate, such as a governor or president, but only in a smaller specific territory of rule. So their power is not necessarily smaller, but their territory is. Federal, as we know, is in state rights versus federal government. Unfortunately, the federal government has jurisdiction, or well, it's good that they have jurisdiction over the nation, but supposedly very limited powers of the territory. Unfortunately, long ago, they have left those limitations, those delegated authorities that were given to them. The governor, again, has lesser territory. Let me move on here. A county official has a smaller territory, but authority. Let's see here. All magistrates possess authority, and they have a duty to uphold the law in what they are doing. Just to remind you, mandates are not law. That's why your lawyer that spoke last, when you asked him, we have to follow the mandates, he said, we have to follow the law. He was kind of tricky with his answer. Even though your lawyer was careful to use that word. And they also have a duty to uphold the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution, given that we live in America. The doctrine of lesser magistrate has proven through history to rein in tyrannical acts by higher-ranking civil authorities. Sadly, in modern times, since many in our power don't really study our Constitution or the words of our founding fathers on the state and local authorities' rules and expectations to push back on overreach of authority, our lesser magistrates often hide behind the skirts of the federal government or state and say a federal court has ruled, or or this is the law or something, and we can do nothing else but obey. Sanctuary cities, marijuana sales legalized in states, but not federally. Oregon's autonomous zone, several states not complying with federal health or curriculum mandates, or even more recently, school districts in California that have decided to give mass choice before Newsom's announcement. And their same insurance policy that you have through JPA did not end up dropping them when their lawyer's company had to take a second look at other legal counsel. They had kept them on. So that's why I said he was biased last time and wasn't doing the best counsel. Now I have some minutes. Thank you. Whether you believe any of their causes are right or wrong, these would have been good examples of some local areas disobeying state or federal rule that some felt unjust or out of the limitations of rule on the higher magistrates. The Magna Carta is also a well-known example of where the nobles all got together and forced the hand of the king to sign it, and that's what obviously our Constitution is based on, and the Declaration of Independence, to sign it as they were saying he no longer had their support to enforce tyrannical rules. The Declaration of Independence is another famous example of lesser magistrates defying a tyrant king. Early on in the days of our founding fathers, states and local authorities began defying our federal government, etc., when there was overreach of authority. It is a time-honored civic duty and a tool of action in our nation's history. I have quotes if you go on further in what I wrote, if I don't get to them. The doctrine of lesser magistrates. What that is when the higher-ranking civil authorities make unjust or immoral laws, policies, or court opinions, the lower or lesser-ranking civil authority has both the right and the duty not to obey the higher authority, and if necessary, to actively resist the higher authority. I'm not going to go into this. I'll let you read about it. I hope you find it interesting. Caligula was a tyrant. Short version is there were Jews, and he decided he was mad at them for something, so he had the lesser magistrate, I think his name was Publius Petronus, build a statue of him to be put in their temple. And of course, they objected to that. And initially, Petronus was like, when they came to him and said, please don't let this happen, he was like, sorry, I don't want to die. I'm not going to do it. But they kept coming back, and eventually he stood in the gap for them, and it all worked out. I'll let you read what went down. Also, this is a great story about the doctrine of lesser magistrates in action. This doctrine applies to every form of government, monarchy, democracy, limited constitutional republic, representative republic, which is what we have. We don't have a democracy. I've heard people calling other groups small fringes, and even if that is so, in a republic, we care about our minorities. We don't try to silence them or diminish what they feel is important, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And I hope you guys have that value too. As Americans. Interposition is calling us to cause one to step into the gap, willingly placing himself between the oppressor and his intended victim. Another example is the Hebrew midwives. The Pharaoh wanted them to kill the baby boys. They wouldn't do it, even though they risked losing their jobs or death and/or. So a lesser magistrate interposes on behalf of the people against tyrannical higher civil authority. I'm going to skip to some of the quotes and let you guys read a little more. So basically, this is from Frederick Douglass. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Do I have one more person? Thank you. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those who they oppress. And Frederick Douglass are abolitionists. Sometimes we must command our lesser magistrates, that would be you guys, and I'm a lesser magistrate as an individual, and that's why I'm here protesting. Sometimes we must command our lesser magistrates to have courage to do the right thing. Even if you don't agree, sometimes just being a voice for those who are the minority or small fringe, so that they're heard, not necessarily acted upon, but heard. So sometimes we must command our lesser magistrates to have the courage to do the right thing. If need be, demand that they do the right thing and accept nothing less than what is needed and necessary. This was what was said by James Madison in the Virginia Resolution just 11 years after signing the Constitution. There was already conflict between states and our federal governments. Did our founding fathers expect the states just to go along with the immoral and unjust policies or court opinions? Absolutely not. Here's what James Madison said in the Virginia Resolutions in defiance of federal tyrannical action. The states who are parties thereto, parties to the U.S. Constitution, have the right and are in duty bound to interpose for arresting the progress of evil and for maintaining within their respective limits the authorities, rights, and liberties pertaining to them. They expected the states to defy when government made egregious, unjust, or immoral actions, laws, policies, or court opinions. Thomas Jefferson said that this in the Kentucky Resolution. Both of these states defied the federal government. And here's what Thomas Jefferson said. And that whensoever the general government, federal government, assumes undelegated powers, and this can be true of the state too, It acts as an unauthoritative void and of no force. So we're to look at these rules as void if they're unlawful. The authority of the federal government is delegated what they can do in the Constitution. They've long left that restraint. Let me see if I have one more code. Okay, Madison again in Federalist number 45. The powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which remain in the state governments are numerous and definite. Madison wanted to assure everybody that just because we have this general government doesn't mean the government will be able to run roughshod over the states. Another one by Thomas Jefferson. Basically, well, here's what I want to leave you with. What happens when a tyrant commits an act of tyranny and everyone goes along with it? He is not noticed to be the tyrant that he is. It's only when brave people stand in defiance of his tyranny. We have to rally you lesser magistrates. I hope you understand that. And a lesser magistrate of Fallbrook and Brownsville once asked, what difference will it really make? I hope I have given you sufficient examples that it can truly change the course of history for good, often in major ways. Think of our founding fathers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all public comment? Okay. I'm a little lost here. Let's see. Okay, communications and reports. Start with reports from student representatives.
Well, I have nothing to report for tonight. Thank you.
All right, I have a very small report, but a report nonetheless. First of all, distinguished board, it's great to be with you again tonight. Superintendent Garza Gonzalez. Mostly today I just have recognitions. I'd like to start off in sports, recognizing our varsity girls basketball team for being champions in their CIF division. So, you know, I've discussed that I'm not much of a sports guy, but I know that's a good thing. Next up, I'd like to recognize our color guard for once again getting first at their competition. And then I would also like to recognize a good number of the students of Fallbrook High School. Last Friday, we held an honor roll celebration, and over 800 students were recognized as having above a 3.0 GPA. I was fortunate enough to talk to admin as a interviewer from our school newspaper, and I know that they're just overjoyed and they look forward to kind of continuing those roles of recognition. And I did want to note that unfortunately, due to some unprecedented circumstances, I do need to leave a little bit following my report. But I did just want to note how grateful I am and how proud I am of our school community. So thank you all very much.
How many kids, what was the GPA for those 800 kids?
So it stemmed in 3 different categories. We had our honor roll, which was 3.0 to 3.49 GPA. We had a high honor roll, which was 3.5 to 3.99 GPA. And then we had our principal's distinguished honor roll, which was all students above a 4.0. So that includes our AP students, as well as all of our straight A freshmen and sophomores. So, you know, really, really great stuff to hear.
When you think of the percentage, 800 out of 2,000 kids, that's really
That's
good.
About 40%.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm also not much of a math
outstanding.
person.
Thank you for that part of your report. All
All
of
right.
it was good,
Yes.
especially the kids, the girls' team. Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Basketball, wow.
Superintendent?
Yes, today was a difficult return to class as we learned of the passing of Shelley Fox, math teacher. I do want to publicly thank the elementary school district who supported us by having counselors to assist us with the counseling efforts for our grieving staff and students. I'd also like to publicly thank Orenda. They were scheduled to be here to do professional development. Instead, they provided our staff with breakfast and lunch and stayed around, since all of them are credentialed, to sub in classrooms as needed. I'm sure the weeks ahead will continue to be difficult, but knowing that we have the support of other school districts and organizations makes it a bit easier to bear. Governor Newsom announced today that the requirement for students to wear masks in school will expire at the end of the day on Friday, March 11th, 2022. This was a joint announcement by the governors of California, Oregon, and Washington. Beginning Monday, March 14th, students will still be permitted to wear a mask if they so choose, but will not be required to do so. It is unclear at this time what the impact of the announcement will be for staff, and we're looking forward to an upcoming update from Cal OSHA with more detail. As we have shared in previous communications, the county may establish stricter guidelines than the state, but we do not anticipate that the County of San Diego will be more restrictive than this. Our district will be no more restrictive than what is required. Our schools will continue to provide surgical masks and/or N95 masks to students and staff upon request, and we will continue to support any student that chooses to wear a mask after March 11th. As we learn more about the possible changes to the state COVID-19 response requirements, we will communicate these to the board, to our students, our staff, and our families. Tomorrow evening, we will be hosting a parent presentation on drug awareness and prevention. The presentation, titled "The True Effects of Vaping, Drinking, and Drug Abuse: What Every Student, Parent, and Community Needs to Know," will be moderated by Rockwell Rocky Heron, former DEA agent and current alcohol and other drug ambassador with the San Diego County Office of Education. He will be joined by Sherry and Aaron Rubin of the Hope Together Foundation and representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the District Attorney's Office. The English presentation will be held at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening here in the PAC, and the Spanish presentation will begin at the same time, same location on Wednesday evening. On Wednesday, Rocky Heron will be present throughout the day to speak to our students in 3 scheduled student assemblies. We're looking forward to an ongoing partnership to continue to bring valuable information and awareness to our community. One of our FFA students and a senior at Fallbrook High School was selected as one of only 75 students throughout the state to participate in a conference in Sacramento. Maddie Golden had the opportunity to work with fellow FFA students from throughout the state and state lawmakers to learn more about the legislative process. Our ROTC program has once again qualified to participate in the national academic competition. We'd like to congratulate Chief Warrant Officer Smith and Master Sergeant Weezar, as well as the cadets that are participating. And as Damon has already mentioned, I'd like to congratulate our girls basketball team. They won the first CIF Girls Basketball Championship for Fallbrook High School in the last 40 years, and the 3rd championship in the school's more than 100-year history. Congratulations to them.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go down the board members, starting over here. Any comments?
I just wanted to say congratulations to all of those students that were on the honor roll. I think that is absolutely fabulous to have approximately 40% of the student body be on the honor roll. And I think that just shows what a good job everybody's doing. Thanks.
I really enjoy the springtime being on the board, because that's when all the awards and these wonderful things we get to hear about. Of course, the girls' basketball is very amazing. But I did have an opportunity to attend this wonderful pep rally that they had, where all the kids went to the football field, and they were honoring all the kids that were doing all the sports teams, and it was wonderful, the cheerleaders. But with my heart, I just really enjoyed the Mexican dancers, the Help me with the pronunciation.
Ballet folclórico.
Thank you. Yes, that it's just so wonderful to see all the girls dressed up, and there was one young man with just this beautiful costume, and what was so nice is that the other students really loved it. They really loved it, and they loved all of it. So thank you for taking the time so the kids can celebrate each other like that. It was great.
All right. Yeah, it's sorry to hear the sad news. I just want to tell everybody how important it is to treat each other fairly and support each other through this and everything else going on. I think it's really important that we do that, to just take a second to recognize, the human people that we're talking to and dealing with. I was able to attend the first class of seminar put on by the School Board Association called Masters in Governance. That's, I think, a 5-course set of lectures and trainings for helping a person like me learn all the ins and outs of this job and to be as effective as possible. One of the things that that really resonated with me is the importance of focusing on good student achievements and test scores and things like that. And I think that's really helpful tonight to get all the good news that we've been getting as far as our outstanding students and all the successes that we've got. So that's all last thing. March 3rd, I think.
Student of the month.
Thank you. We have our Student of the Month presentation. That's by a nonprofit off campus. I'd like to invite the board members to that breakfast. I believe it's at 7:30 at the North Coast Church. I attended that last month, and it was very uplifting. Thank you.
Yeah, just want to extend my solidarity statements to our teachers, counselors, administrators, and staff. Over the several couple weeks and months, several folks have passed away, and it's challenging time to be in a school and to lose loved coworkers, students. It's devastating. So just want to thank them for nonetheless being there for our kids and the community, and it's showing 800 or plus students receiving awards is something phenomenal. Even though they themselves are going through a lot of personal obstacles and adversity. So again, I want to extend my solidarity to them. As Damian mentioned, congratulate the varsity women's basketball, color guard, JROTC, and just every student who's coming to school. Whether or not you're getting recognized, your presence in our school is valuable, and just thank you for attending. And lastly, I did attend the award celebration the Friday before spring break. It was amazing. A lot of the students that I used to teach or I was a coach for in basketball, soccer, are now juniors, seniors, sophomores, freshmen, and just seeing their faces was amazing. Parents were really happy. They were able to, just honor their kids and feel pride, and share their accomplishments. I'd just like to know if they could get an email about a day ahead of time, so that, oh, my kid didn't go dressed up to school well for that, that award celebration. Just let me know next time so that we could dress them up and so on. So just, a little feedback. But besides that, it was amazing. And I know that believe it was Ms. Jones' idea. And I just want to thank her for it, because it brought everybody together just to celebrate success. And it was really great. It was really great being there. Thank you.
Just real quickly, I also wanted to congratulate all of the students that made it onto the honor roll and all of the supportive staff that got them there. And then I also wanted to say how impressed I was with the attendance personnel that we have now, with the different programs that we're doing with the home visits and that type of thing. I think it's making a huge impact on these kids and getting them to be able to bring up their grades and get up there. Maybe they'll be on those honor rolls coming up the next time around.
I just wanted to ask this, maybe the superintendent could answer. This 40% of the kids, is that juniors and seniors, or is that all 4 years?
Of the 800 that were recognized? No, that's grades 9 through 12th, and it's for semester grades only.
So 40% of our kids now are being better in their grades.
Our 3.0 GPA or above.
That's
that
being
semester.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, agenda items. The first one is information.
Yes, information only. These are revised, new, and deleted board policies and administrative regulations and exhibits. Most are under the 3000s, which is business services. Specifically, this time around, emergency and disaster plan, earthquake emergency procedures, facilities inspections, and risk management insurance. Ongoing reviews and updates are necessary with board policies and administrative regulations. We compare our policies, regulations, exhibits, and bylaws with the California School Boards Association recommendations. The revisions allow the district to make the necessary updates to remain compliant. These revisions are in alignment with the CSBA suggested language and numbering system. Revisions appear as a strike-through for deletions and an underline for additions. There are no financial implications associated with this agenda item, and again, this is for information only and will come back for a second reading as an action item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? Number 2 is an action item for review revised deleted board policies.
Yes, so these revised, new, and deleted board policies and administrative regulations came before you as an information item at the last meeting. Ongoing reviews and updates are necessary with board policies and administrative regulations, as it enables the district to ensure that the policies, regulations, exhibits, and bylaws conform to state and federal law. We compare our policies, regulations, exhibits, and bylaws with the California School Boards Association recommendations. Additionally, the review serves as a reminder to the governance team and staff of the operational principles and implementation guidelines for the district. There are no financial implications associated with this agenda item. Implementation of these proposed revisions supports the district efforts to help students attain the goals identified in the LCAP, and I recommend that the Board of Trustees approve in this second reading the revised, new, and deleted board policies and administrative regulations as presented.
I move that the board approve in the second reading the revised, new, and deleted board policies and administrative regulations as presented.
I second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All right, Mr. Carlumpio.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Jones says aye. Ms. Sterling?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Tavish?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Gallegos? Not here. Savannah?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Agenda item number 3 is an action item, resolution 09-2122, board compensation for missing meetings.
Each member of the Board of Education who attends all meetings, regular, special, and study sessions held in a calendar month shall receive a compensation for his or her services as entitled by law for that month. A member may be paid for any meeting when absent if the board by resolution duly adopted and included in its minutes finds that at the time of the meeting, he or she was performing services outside of the meeting for the school district, that he or she was absent due to illness, jury duty, or hardship deemed acceptable by the board. Board members may be excused for up to 2 meetings per year. The financial implication is that compensation is for no more than $240 per month. There is no direct alignment with the LCAP. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 09-2122, board compensation for missed meeting for Mr. Oscar Caralampio as presented.
I move that the board approve resolution number 09-2122, board compensation for missed meeting as presented.
I second that.
Okay, motion second by Tavish and Sterling. Summers, I'm sorry. Any questions, discussion?
I just want to add that Mr. Caralampio would have to recuse himself from this vote as it would benefit him financially.
So at first, I was not comfortable with this, but when I get into the details here, the paragraph regarding missing meetings because of outside school district business and or due to illness or something else beyond their control and is acceptable by the board, I feel more comfortable with this now, understanding that it's got to be a specific set of circumstances, basically for some sort of an official reason. Anybody else have any comment?
Yeah, I was tested positive for COVID that day, so I couldn't attend and, spread it to y'all. So I was planning to attend, but early morning, positive case came up, so I had a quarantine at home. Just wanted to share that out there.
All right, since you brought it up, what would you like to be? What do you think it should be?
I guess I'm saying I'm good with how it is. Having with the clarification for the reasons, I feel more comfortable with it.
Yes, I do want to add that the 4 reasons that are acceptable for missing a school board meeting are actually established under Education Code 35120.
I'm concerned if our president here has to be away for a while because of fires, and it could happen. Would that, I don't know, would that make an issue for you?
Each situation is on a case-by-case basis. This resolution is simply for the meeting missed by Trustee Caralampio, no others.
Okay, so if there's another issue, it would be brought up at the time. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Caralampio is not going to vote. Mr. Jones says aye. Ms. Sterling?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Davish?
Aye.
Aye. And Mr. Gallegos is not here. Savannah?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0, I think, as we would record it. Okay, number 4 is an action item. Oh, this has to do with the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly.
Yes, the Delegate Assembly is an important component of the governance structure of the California School Boards Association. The Delegate Assembly sets the general policy direction for the association and reflects the interests of school districts and county offices of education throughout the state. The Delegate Assembly is made up of more than 270 delegates who are elected by local board members in 21 geographic regions throughout the state. Some geographic regions have been further divided into subregions. Delegates serve 2-year terms beginning April 1st, 2022. They meet twice a year to conduct business and may also meet with the other delegates and the director within their region. They participate in CSBA events and maintain contact with local boards in their region. The Fallbrook Union High School District is in CSBA Region 17, San Diego County. There are currently 9 vacancies for Region 17. 12 board members from Region 17 have been nominated by their respective districts to serve on the CSBA Delegate Assembly. All boards within Region 17 may vote for up to 9 from among those 12. There are no financial implications associated with this agenda and no alignment with the LCAP. I recommend that the Board of Trustees vote for no more than 9 candidates to the 2022 CSBA Delegate Assembly.
And just to be clear, we don't have to vote for 9. We can vote for as many or even 0, correct?
As many or even 0 as long as it does not exceed 9.
Thank you. Discussion? There were a lot of, we didn't have a lot to go on. We really had just kind of some sheets to read here and some background information, but any discussion or do we have a motion?
I move that the board vote for Marco Amaral, Judy Ugate, Gui Wong Hong, as our 3 delegates for the 2021 CSBA Delegate Assembly.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second for 3 names. And just want to make sure we recorded the names correctly. Do we have those? Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to extend my support for Marco Amaral. He's a close friend of mine. He's actually running for state soup, and really great guy. So, it's a good vote.
All right, call for the vote. Mr. Carlumpio?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Jones says aye. Ms. Sterling?
Aye.
Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Tavish?
Aye.
Mr. Gallegos, not present. Ms. Hamath?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Passes 5-0. Okay, this is an information under Education Services. It has to do with LCAP.
Yes, I'd like to invite Emily Toon to the podium. She will be presenting the supplement to the annual LCAP update and LCAP mid-year report. This is an informational item to provide an update related to the annual Local Control Accountability Plan and the Local Control Accountability Plan mid-year report. Ms. Toon.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, President Jones, Superintendent Garza Gonzalez. I'm here to talk to you about LCAP again. This is a mid-year report, so I have a bit of brief review of some of the information that's in the LCAP. I know it's familiar to many of you. We also have some information about our supplement, which is all of our ESSER funds, our ELO funds, our COVID relief funds, and how those were integrated into our local control accountability plan. And I just realized I left the clicker in my seat. I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience. So this is just a quick review for anyone who is interested. Our local control accountability plan is a tool for districts to really establish the goals for the district and where there are areas of strength and where there are areas of need. We have 3 goals in our LCAP. Our first is student and family engagement. Our second is college and career readiness. And our third is making sure our students are proficient on the state standards. To the right, you'll see some basic information. Our school is 70% socioeconomically disadvantaged, and this is important because the local control accountability plan does provide for additional funds for unduplicated pupils, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged students are of their unduplicated count. We also have 13% of our population are students with disabilities. And then down there at the bottom, you'll see that 18% of our population are English learners. The funding that we receive starts with a base grant, and then our supplemental and concentration grants are tied to our priority groups. As I mentioned before, our English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged, our homeless, and our foster youth. So as we go through the LCAP, you'll see that all of those supplemental and concentration funds are tied to and targeted towards actions to support those unduplicated pupils. At the top, you'll see it's just the repeat of our goals, but at the bottom, and the reason I included this is our 4 key themes that emerged when we started having conversations with our stakeholders. And this ties to how we also gathered feedback for how we would be using our COVID relief funds. Because as we engaged with our leadership, our team of our department chairs, our DLAC, our parents, through surveys, in-person meetings, things that naturally rose to the forefront are, of course, the impacts of the pandemic, virtual learning, hybrid learning, attendance, et cetera. So while the LCAP existed, obviously, pre-pandemic, the pandemic was a piece that was integral into its development. We've kept our supplemental and concentration money as our base, as something that we know is going to happen over and over because the COVID relief money are one-time funds.
And so anything that we've layered on top of what we're currently doing has been in using those COVID relief funds. So at the bottom, you'll see the top 4 themes that emerged were lesson design and engagement, school culture, communication and parent engagement, and our multi-tiered system of supports and social emotional well-being for our students. So the feedback that we do get from our stakeholders heavily influences the development of the plan. And so at the top, you'll see in goal 1, things that were written into the LCAP were outreach and community engagement. You'll see when I continue on that we have some significant increases in engagement with our parents through our mano a mano, foot traffic in our parent center. We also had Herman Mosqueda, who presented to you just a few minutes ago, and so our chronic absenteeism, cultural awareness, extracurricular support for our unduplicated pupils, and then busing and transportation, and that's where a lot of that ESSER money went towards supporting the busing this year. In goal 2, things that were influenced by our stakeholders were the workshops for our parents, the desire to have encuentros, which is still pending. We are doing guidance alignment with our counselors, so they are establishing a system of looking at data and then making adjustments as time goes by, including our PSAT, and then we have a committee that we do through the district, and then the site has their own committee for college and career readiness as well. And in goal 3, our systems work is really of the teachers, by the teachers, for the teachers. They identify their standards, they assess the students, they reflect on the results, and then they establish goals moving forward for each unit. We've also done our professional learning, and we are updating our materials in social science, ELA, and science. Just as a reminder, Ivy High School is in CSI, which is federal support, because they had a graduation rate averaged over 2 years that was less than 67%. I am pleased to announce, you'll see later, that they have had some significant increases, not enough to pull them out of CSI, but they hit 71% for their graduation rate last year, so we're hoping to continue on that positive trend for Ivy. Differentiated assistance is our state support, and this is infused throughout the plan as well and is a requirement. We are in differentiated assistance for English learners and students with disabilities, which is why you saw that 13% at the beginning of the presentation. On the dashboard, if any of our students or demographics are in the red in more than 2 areas or 2 or more, then they are in differentiated assistance. So on the right, you will see the specific areas on the dashboard where they were in the red, and where we have put actions in to try to support the students in each of our goals. So some areas of strength that we have, because this is a mid-year report, so our data is in progress, but some areas of strength, as I had mentioned, was that 71% graduation rate for Ivy High School. We did see an increase in the percentage of students who are getting C's or better in our integrated Math 1A course, which was taught by Miss Shelley Fox, so I have to give her a shout out because she did magic with those students. We had increased parent engagement, as I had mentioned before, and then what we're really excited about is in 2021, even though we didn't have full participation, we had more participation than a lot of schools in the county for the SBAC, and we saw an increased scores in both ELA and math for our students in 2021. Our AVID and our dual immersion students are also demonstrating some success, so those internal unit assessments are showing that they are outperforming students who are not in those programs by between 6 and 8% in math. This is just, there's a lot of information that you'll actually see when you go through and you read the mid-year report. So these are just a few things that I wanted to call out that might be helpful to see and pay attention to. We did have 101 parents participate in mano a mano over 8 sessions. We've had 601 parents who've been utilizing our Parent Welcome Center resources, 21 parents who are having coffee with the principal, which is also an increase. OASIS's graduation rate, 89%, and then the graduation rate for Fallbrook High School did decrease slightly, but you'll see those graduation rates there. And we also have seen a slight decrease in our, not a slight decrease, a decrease in the percentage of students who are attending 96% of the time or more. And this is heavily impacted by the pandemic, the isolation needs. So that is in there as a need and something that we recognize. So these are all for our goal 1, improving engagement of students and families. Goal 2 is a heavy focus on all of our CTE programs, which are funded through our supplemental concentration money, our PSAT, our College and Career Readiness Committee, our Saturday Academy, Warrior Way, which is funded through assets, and a couple highlights in the data that you will see here is that, like I said before, in both AVID and in our dual immersion program, those students are demonstrating a higher rate of success, so we're excited to see that happening. This is relatively consistent, so I always enjoy saying it, but in AP Spanish language and AP Spanish lit, they're doing very well. 93% of the students in AP Spanish Lang got a 3 or higher. In AP Spanish lit, it was 85% for an increase of 3% from last year, which is outstanding. 16% of our students who took the PSAT this year are at standard in ELA and math both. And you'll see how many supplemental courses we are offering, which is 54, and 8 CTE pathways, which provides a lot of opportunities for our students for college or career. There is some room for growth. We did have a slight decrease in our students currently who are prepared through A to G. So last year we were about 44% of our students who were seniors graduated A to G ready. Currently, 33% of our students who are seniors are on track. Our counselors are working through guidance alignment right now to actually look at that. Part of the reason some of those students are not on track is because of grades, so counselors are looking for opportunities for those students to get back into courses and try to remediate some of those Ds. And in goal 3, this is where we have a lot of that work that I spoke about for ARENDA and the unit assessments, and that is entirely within our core departments. So ELA, science, social science, and math are engaging in this systems work process. And then our CTE team is outstanding, and they are infusing themselves as well. So they are looking at where their standards overlap, and they're looking at the data for their students and how they can support them in their CTE classes and are part of that systems work, which is really exciting. We did see we have our technology coaches that are funded in goal 3, and so all of our teachers are offered opportunities for support in infusing technology into their classrooms. As I had mentioned before, there's that 85% for our students who are in AP Spanish Lit, which is the more challenging of the 2 courses. And again, you'll see our SBAC scores coming in here because this is specifically the goal for us for our standards. So we have 59% of our students who are a 3 or higher in ELA and 35% who are 3 or higher in math. These are some things that we know are out there that people are still interested in as we continue to move forward in development of LCAP for next year. There are conversations about block scheduling happening right now. We're gathering feedback from our leadership teams. There's conversations about advisory and late start for next year. How can we support our advanced placement program? And then how can we continue to make sure that that professional learning is happening of the teachers, by the teachers, for the teachers within their departments? So these things are discussed and on the horizon, and these are the priorities. I apologize, it's a little bit difficult to see, but as we look at the bell schedules and as we look at things for next year, these are some of the priorities that we discussed as a team, and you'll see that motivation crosses across quite a few of them, and we asked our leadership team to rank these in terms of which were the most important as we move forward for next year. And so I'll end with what our leadership team came up with. What they consider to be the most important as we continue to plan and move forward is culture, motivation, affiliation, and belonging, course opportunities, social, emotional, and academic success, and then academic achievement and lesson design, and then credit deficiency there towards the end. So as we move forward, we're keeping these priorities in mind when we look at the possibilities of a change in our bell schedules. And that is, I know, still a lot, but I've condensed as much as I could for you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do have one question, Ms. Toon, and that is where you're showing 81% graduation rate. Can you extend that a little bit? Is that what it was, or that's where we are now, or what's the difference there?
So last year, Fallbrook High School was 83% graduation rate, I believe, so we did decrease slightly. I can't quote the state's graduation rate off the top of my head, but I did look it up, and we are very close. I believe for Fallbrook High School, we are slightly below.
Below what you were last year?
Below what we were last year and slightly below the state, but maybe by 2 or 3%.
And that is because?
I would say that there's a lot of factors that have gone into it, but the pandemic has not helped anything in terms of it's been a challenge for our students and for our staff with hybrid learning. There's been a lot of work I know that they have done in terms of trying to implement some of the things that the state has offered us. I think it's AB 104. I always get it mixed up with 104 or 140. So there were a lot of opportunities in terms of trying to gather students that way. We're using some of that COVID relief money to offer credit recovery during 7th period this year to try to make sure that we catch any students who might have fallen through the cracks last year. We also have an extended summer school course offering last year and this year to try to make sure we recuperate as many of those classes and credits for students as possible.
Oh, if out of that 19%, and you know already that they're not going to graduate, you know at this time?
No. We have quite a few students who are in those credit recovery classes, and so we know some students who are credit deficient, and so we do have plans. Counselors are already looking at those lists to see who they can roll into summer school.
Okay, so it may not be this 19% of the kids by the time it's all said and done.
And just to clarify, the 19%, I'm not sure
Well,
where you're getting
81% are graduating.
Oh, I see, the 19% who are not. Yeah.
So it could improve. Would we be able to find out, let's say at the end of the summer when we know for sure if they were able to?
The graduation rate you're actually referencing is our 2021 graduation rate, which is on CDE for DataQuest. What our current graduation rate is it's a very complicated calculation because it's over 4 years. So we have to look back across 4 years of our students to see who's dropped out, because if they dropped out in 10th grade, they are part of our graduation cohort. So that I don't have off the top of my head, because that's a far greater and more complicated calculation.
It is complicated.
Than just our current seniors, but we know of our current seniors who are there, and we do look at the dropout lists in previous years to see where students have ended.
That's what I'd be interested in, not all that complicated part, but of the graduating class, but of the seniors that we have now, what percentage are that you feel will graduate? You know, and I understand if some of them have to come in the summer, but yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult to calculate until we get to the end.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to know when it's all said and done.
I can look into it for you. I can't quote it to you at the moment.
Well, just so we can all know. Maybe you won't know it till like the end of the summer. That's okay.
Ms. Toon, two things. Could you explain to the board who the leadership team is?
Yes. So our leadership team includes our department chairs, our site administration team, and then it also includes our teacher leads. So our Ivy High School and our Oasis High School have teacher leads at each school, and they participate in our committee meetings. So we have a curriculum, instruction, and assessment committee, and that's where we're specifically looking at standards and courses. And we also have a college and career readiness committee, and we're specifically looking then at CTE, and it all does overlap. So those two committees are usually infused together. But that also includes Pam Kane in our College and Career Center, our lead counselor, our leads for our programs. So Mary Bagley from Avid, George Herring from IB. We're looking for kind of the leads across the board so that we make sure that that information then goes back to the teams and the departments that we discuss in our committees.
And then the second thing I wanted to point out that yes, Ivy has been in CSI and it appears that they have a low graduation rate, but the reality is that Ivy does a very good job of catching students up so that they are no longer credit deficient, and many of the students choose to transfer back to Fallbrook and graduate from Fallbrook High School, which is a ding against Ivy, but we're okay with it because we know that they are graduating from Fallbrook High.
Correct.
And on that same topic, if I understood correctly in talking to Mr. Gray, some of our Ivy students are able to graduate in like a 5th year, which means they graduate, but we don't get credit for that. Is that correct?
Correct. And there's actually a 5th year graduation rate calculation. So.
And, oh, go on.
Well, you go ahead.
Yeah, the 5th year also counts, does that also count for our newcomers, ELs? Because,
Yes,
can you explain that a little bit?
our English learners and our students with disabilities are welcome to stay until they are 21. And so for a lot of our newcomers who are coming in with gaps in education, they usually are on a 5-year path if they would like to graduate with A to G requirements. We do have some superstellar students who are able to graduate in 4 years, but that does impact that graduation rate and calculation because they are on track, they are progressing, but ostensibly it's going to look like they're not, even though they are just trying to make up some additional things, get back on track, and then they graduate as a 5th year.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. Spoken to several newcomers who did graduate. Fortunately, they graduated, but unfortunately, it's talking about that situation where the school's not getting the credit for it. But they're extremely grateful and have been grateful for the opportunity to learn, get a high school diploma, especially some students who took welding, and that was the reason why they came to school. So now they are saying, hey, I learned English, I learned how to read, I learned how to write. I have a welding experience now or background, which can help me out in the future. So again, it's one of those cases where it's amazing, but data-wise, it's affecting the data.
Especially if our students want, our English learner newcomers want to take advantage of CTE courses, then they are on a 5-year path.
Again, this is a really, really comprehensive report. Superintendent Garza Gonzalez has a lot of faith in you, and it's clear why. You do a really, really good job. Our schools sometimes don't have the best scores that you can see on websites and things like that. And I want to say that listening to your report tonight does a really good job of explaining all the nuances that you can't just get off of a basic report card, if you will. And the steps that you and the rest of the team are doing to reach out to those students and those families and everything else is something that I think we should all be pretty proud of. And though some of our scores aren't as high as we would like, it is good to see a lot of things moving in a better direction. So thank you very much for that. Anybody else have any comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
It's the teachers, I have to give them credit. They're the ones doing all the hard work.
Let's turn it on. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered by the Board of Trustees to be routine and will be enacted on in one action. There is usually no discussion on these prior to the time of the Board of Trustees votes on the motion unless members of the board request specific items to be discussed or deleted from the consent agenda.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Mr. Carlumpio?
Aye.
Aye. Jones says aye. Ms. Sterling?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Summers?
Aye.
Ms. Davish?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Gagos is no longer present. Savannah?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Organizational matters. This is the appropriate place on the agenda for members of the board to request the superintendent provide further information regarding items discussed at this meeting and or request that new items be items of business be placed on future agenda. Are there any topics for organizational matters?
Yes. I would like to have an update on the solar battery backup to see whether we have received the grant from Tesla, and if we have not received the grant from Tesla, what we are doing for the battery backup.
Noted.
Thank you. Any others?
Okay, I would also like to know a little bit more information about where we are in the process of getting the panic bars and escape gates out on the no-climb fence for exiting for the kids in case there is a real emergency to be able to get off the grounds and out. I know I brought this up in the past, but I haven't heard back.
I believe the response was included in a Friday letter, but I'll go back and check and make sure.
I have an interest in, the block schedule. I understood Ms. Toon to say that it's in discussion, and I just wanted to have an update on that, and if that's going to happen, whenever.
As we had stated, it will not be implemented in 22-23. Teachers are continuing to look into the block schedule that would best fit with our students, taking into consideration that next year all high schools will have to start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. So at this time, I would prefer to wait for an update as it's also a negotiable matter.
Just interested in how far we need to go with that in the future. That's all. Thank you.
All right, no other organizational matters? Date and time of next meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held on Monday, March 14th, 2020 at 5:30 at this location, the Bob Burton Performing Arts Center at Fallbrook High School. There being no further business to come before the board, the regular board meeting of February 28th, 2022 was adjourned at 7:02 by President Jones. Thank you.